Hello everyone, Pilot NL here and welcome to a new series of Kerbal Space program, RP1 career mode, with programs and launch complexes. Please join me on this fictional adventure to space. It was in the early days of 1951 when a group of 4 friends attempted to fly their home-built aircraft, although it was easier said than done to defy gravity. At first, they didn't succeed. They could have accepted their failure there and then and go home. Instead, they turned their aircraft around, tapped their gauges and gave it another try. After a bumpy start, they took to the skies and set course to their new home. There it was. Although it didn't look like much, these were the foundations of their very own brand new space center. We started on the 1st of January when SkySail, a private space agency, was founded. Let me introduce you to the crew. We have Charlotte Murphy, Anthony Barnes, Tom Jansen and Elin Nilsson. After their first achievement of building an aircraft and making it all the way to their island home, they got the attention of some wealthy investors willing to take a share in the risk and adventure ahead. A few skilled leaders, scientists and engineers were hired, and 2 renowned aerospace companies were subcontracted to assist in designing their projects. They had to find out what's up there, where space really begins and how to get up there. They designed a rocket-powered sounding probe to take measurements in the upper atmosphere. It's a 2-stage rocket design, where the first stage is a solid kick motor that can quickly accelerate the rocket off the launch rails, and the second stage, liquid fuel sustainer to propel the rocket to the edge of space. Although it is heavy, the fuel tank had to be made of steel to ensure it is strong enough to survive the G-forces during launch. On top they placed an avionics unit with a barometer, a thermometer and a recorder for collecting telemetry data. A lightweight radio transmitter is also installed to send and receive data during the flight. A parachute unit with a drogue and the main chute is fitted under a hollow nose cone. Two timer units are installed to sequence the staging. Two sets of aerodynamic fins will stabilize the rocket. The lower set is placed at an angle to introduce a light stabilizing spin along the y-axis of the vehicle. On the 5th of April, the first Spike rocket was rolled out to the launch pad. Whilst Charlotte checks out the rocket, Tom and Anthony discuss the range safety precautions and recovery procedures. The rocket performed well. It had reached an altitude of 84 kilometers. Not at all bad for a first attempt, it collected valuable data for the science team. May. Charlotte, Anthony, Tom and Elin complete their X1 type rating course and are now qualified to fly jet or rocket-powered experimental aircraft. One important lesson that was learned from the Spike 1 launch is that the tremendous forces of acceleration and vibration are not likely to be survivable for living beings. Before a crewed rocket flight can be attempted, a test vehicle, capable of keeping the crew alive at speeds above the sound barrier and in the thin atmosphere, had to be developed. The Spike 2 missile is built and will be rolled out to the launch pad. It was launched in the early morning of the 15th of June. The rocket is identical to Spike 1 and its mission is to complete the same flight profile to collect missing data from the first attempt. The rocket performed normally and reached an altitude of 79 kilometers. Telemetry data acquisition was complete, but the temperature and pressure scans of the upper atmosphere are not consistent and at least one more flight is needed to complete these scientific experiments. Halfway through the year, the team of scientists had found a formula of aluminum alloy that has the same strength as steel, but at much lighter weight. Although the tools had to be made at significant cost, the investment is believed to be worth it, and the next rocket will have a greatly improved performance over the previous design. On August 26th, Spike 3 came clear of the launch rails and reached supersonic speeds only 26 seconds after launch. Halfway through the burn, the engine had an anomaly and a partial loss of thrust. Only seconds later, it suffered a catastrophic failure. Luckily, the science instruments were not damaged by the explosion, and the damaged rocket coasted up to a record altitude of 94 kilometers. Telemetry data was recorded and sent over to the engineering department to work on improving the reliability of the rocket engine. After months of hard work in the hangar, an experimental aircraft, the J-35, named after its engine, was rolled out for test flight on September 19th. With Waldo as her backup crew, Charlotte prepared to take the new jet for a test flight. After takeoff from the new concrete runway at SkySail Space Center, she took their new aircraft up to an altitude of 11 kilometers. There she noticed that the engine was losing thrust fast due to the thin atmosphere. At this point the jet was capable of speeds of about Mach 0.8. Daringly looking at the altimeter, she pulled hard on the stick and jumped the aircraft up to 15 kilometers. She traded all her speed for altitude and nearly entered a spin before getting the aircraft back under control. With fuel reserves dwindling, she turned the aircraft around towards the island and pushed the nose forward. In the dive, the jet broke the sound barrier and reached Mach 1.1. But she also noticed that in level flight, the engine was underpowered for this airframe. With the fuel low warning sound blaring through the cockpit, she turned the aircraft towards the runway and then the engine spooled down and became silent. With only the sound of wind rushing over the cockpit windows, she touched down gracefully on the runway and concluded this successful 36-minute test flight. The news reached the papers and Charlotte instantly turned famous, becoming the first civilian pilot to break the sound barrier. On the day of Halloween, Spike 4 was being prepared for launch. This rocket had a significantly improved instrument unit. By using lightweight materials and high conductivity electronic components, its weight had nearly halved, now only weighing 261 kilograms instead of 487. Combined with the previously used aluminium tank and some minor tweaks to the engine, hopes are high to reach the edge of space. In the morning of November 2nd, the weather looked favorable and the safety pins were removed from the launch console. The lighter rocket accelerated continuously until its propellant ran out and kept going up until it passed the imaginary border of space at an altitude of 100 kilometers, also known as the Kármán line. Although of negligible scientific interest, this milestone gained the agency much publicity, which resulted eventually in better funding. With 1951 coming to an end, it had proven to be a very successful first year for the agency. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon in the next episode of SkySail.